Most people think they're afraid of failure, but what we're really afraid of is the unknown. Whether it's money, career, or love, Americans are playing it safe. 72% avoid financial risk, even if it means losing returns. 65% stay in jobs they hate, afraid of uncertainty. 76% avoid moving even for a better life. 66% stay socially guarded, not because they don't want connection, but because it feels too risky. And in the end, we're all haunted by the same question: what if? But then there's the 1%, the ones who dive in with no guarantees, no safety nets, and still make it out alive. What makes them different? Why do some people fear uncertainty while others use it as fuel? I'm Jordan Travers, a clinical psychotherapist, and today we're going to dive deep into the psychology of uncertainty and uncover 3 science-backed ways to overcome the fear of the unknown, grounded in decades of science and what I've seen firsthand in therapy. According to Dr. Nicholas Carlton, a clinical psychologist and anxiety researcher, there may be one fear at the root of almost all of our anxiety. Not the fear of failure, not the fear of rejection, not even the fear of death, but the fear of the unknown. Carlton defines it as a person's tendency to experience fear due to the perceived absence of information at any level of awareness. So in other words, when our brain can't predict what comes next, it panics. His 2016 paper reviewed decades of psychological and neurobiological research, and here's what he found. The brain treats uncertainty as inherently threatening, triggering a survival response even in the absence of actual danger. This response shows up early in development, even in infants, and can be observed across species. And most powerfully, this fear of the unknown isn't just one of many fears. It may actually be the fundamental fear that gives rise to all of the others, whether it's fear of failure, fear of pain, or fear of social rejection. So when we talk about being afraid to change careers, to start that business, to leave a relationship, we're often not fearing the outcome. We're fearing the uncertainty of what may happen next, because we don't really know, and that's what makes us afraid. If uncertainty triggers fear, how exactly does it show up in the body? To find out, researchers from the Netherlands, led by Dr. Mertens, ran one of the largest studies to date on fear and uncertainty. Here's what they did. They gathered 120 healthy adults, strapped electrodes to their skin, and ran a classic fear conditioning test, the kind that's been used for decades to study how we learn fear. The setup was simple but powerful. Participants were shown 2 random words like mini or enormous. One of those words, let's call it the threat word, was followed by a mild electric shock, but not every time, only 75% of the time. The other word, completely safe. This 75% rule was key. It created just enough unpredictability to simulate real-life uncertainty, the kind you face when you're waiting on a job offer, deciding on whether to trust someone new, or launching something you believe in without knowing how it'll land. Then came the big question. Would people who fear uncertainty react more strongly to the threat cue? They measured everything: self-reported fear, sweat, otherwise known as skin conductance, reflexive blinking, aka our startle response, and how likely participants expected the shock. Here's what they found. People who scored high on intolerance of uncertainty showed stronger fear responses to the threat word, but only in their conscious ratings. Their bodies didn't necessarily flinch more. Their skin didn't sweat anymore, but they felt more afraid and reported higher anxiety during the task. The stronger their fear of the unknown, the more threatening that unpredictable word felt. Even when researchers controlled for general anxiety, this link between uncertainty and fear still held up. But here's what's even more interesting. There was no consistent pattern in the physiological data. No clear spike in startle, no reliable jump in sweat response, which means the fear of uncertainty may not always scream through your body, but it whispers in your mind. It lives in the stories you tell yourself, in the discomfort you feel when you can't see the outcome, and in the urge to play it safe, just in case. And if you're wondering whether that fear is real, this study shows it absolutely unequivocally is, even when the danger is mild, even when the risk is small. If you hate not knowing, your brain reacts as if something bad is already happening. So now that we understand the fear of the unknown and how it shows, The question remains, how do you overcome it? But before we dig deeper, don't forget to hit the like button and to subscribe to our channel for more research-backed insights. So, how do you actually overcome the fear of the unknown? It's not by trying to control everything. It's by training your brain to handle uncertainty without spiraling. Let me show you how in 3 science-backed steps. Step number 1, stop trying to eliminate uncertainty and learn how to tolerate it. When you fear the unknown, your brain treats anything similar to a past threat as dangerous, even when it's not. This is called fear generalization, and it's especially common in people with something called intolerance of uncertainty. Instead of trying to make life more predictable, what works better is teaching your brain to get comfortable with unpredictability. Researchers have found that even small uncertainty challenges can help. For example, deliberately not checking your email right away, starting a conversation without scripting it in your head, leaving something slightly undone on your to-do list just to prove that you can tolerate the feeling. These are like emotional push-ups. You're training your brain to stay calm when things feel open-ended. Another tool is called cognitive reappraisal. It's the ability to reinterpret situations that feel unclear or ambiguous. Like this. Instead of thinking, they haven't texted me back, something must be wrong, you reframe it to, they haven't texted me back, and maybe they're just busy. It sounds simple, but study after study shows that this kind of mental shift reduces anxiety and panic better than general stress relief techniques. Step 2, strengthen the part of your brain that controls fear. In adolescents with high intolerance of uncertainty, brain scans show something very interesting. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that puts the brakes on fear, isn't working as strongly as it should. When that area is underactive, fear spreads much more easily, but there are ways to train it just like a muscle. Mindfulness meditation is one of the best tools. Just 10 minutes a day of paying attention to your breath, your senses, or your thoughts, without judgment, strengthens your brain's ability to regulate fear. You can also try working memory games or focus challenges. Things like doing mental math under pressure or breathing calmly while someone is talking at you. These improve your attention system and help you stay grounded when uncertainty hits. And then there's behavioral activation, taking action even when you're afraid. The more you do things despite the discomfort, the more your brain learns that uncertainty isn't a threat, it's just a part of life. And the last, step 3, stop obsessing over outcomes and start choosing based on values. This is the one most people miss. When you're afraid of the unknown, your brain becomes obsessed with control. You want guarantees, and you want to know exactly how it'll go before you even start. Essentially, you want to know the ending of an unknown story. But here's the truth. Certainty is an illusion, and it's something that you should be wary of, because certainty is where reason and logic go to die. What helps isn't more control, it's more clarity about what really matters to you. In therapy, this is called values-based action. Instead of asking, will this work out, you ask, is this meaningful to me? Instead of waiting for certainty, you take action based on your values. You start the business because freedom matters more than comfort. You tell the truth because authenticity matters more than approval. You walk into the unknown because growth matters more than guarantees. Research shows that people who live this way, aligned with values and not fear, have lower anxiety, better focus, and more emotional flexibility. You don't overcome the fear of unknown by knowing more. You overcome it by building a brain and a life that can handle the unknown, one small uncertainty at a time, one courageous step at a time, and one values-aligned choice at a time. I'm Jordan Travers. I'm the clinical director at Awake Therapy, and I want to know, what dream have you put on hold because of fear of the unknown? Drop it in the comments because I'll be personally replying to every single one. Until next time. Bye.